My name's Sarah Shaw, and I'm the art teacher at the Woodward School. At the Woodward School, we cover a whole range of materials and mediums in the whole realm of the visual arts. We do painting, drawing, printmaking, sculpture. We also do some digital art, and we combine some traditional and digital techniques. This year, the students have been working really hard on their projects in art class, and we're really excited to show some of this work here at the Thomas Crane Library in an exhibition called Painting, Prints, and Stories from the Woodward School. So as you'll see, we have paintings from high school students and middle school students. We have some multi-page graphic narratives from some high school students, and a lot of experimental printmaking from some middle school students on display. Students at the Woodward School are really motivated, and they work so hard in art as well as all their other classes. But one thing that's really unique about the Woodward School is how supportive students are of each other. In class, students are always giving each other advice, helping each other out. It's just a really great environment for these students to thrive and develop their creativity. The exhibition will be on view for the entire month of March. Our reception will be on March 11th, Friday afternoon, and we hope to see you there.
My name is Nala Montalban, and I am in 10th grade. In class, I made a skeleton charcoal drawing. I used that on white on black paper using white charcoal, and for white paper I used black charcoal. I also did some many other pieces of charcoal as well, but this one in particular, I like this one the most because I think I did a pretty good job on it. The head seems simplest for me, except the base torso and the feet, anything else besides that, because the head seems much simpler, as well as the shape of the head, the way it goes, the neck. I like the bones, the way they look, and it was pretty simple to do. When I tried it both times backwards, when I did it inverted, it's looking at each other. Drawing from life helps me because, say you have a flower, and if you want to draw that, then it's pretty simple to do because you can see the parts of the flower that you have, the petals, the center of it, the leaves, and maybe the stem itself. You can see where each part goes make into one whole connection, which what I practically did to connect it into the skeleton drawing. So start with the head, then you go to whatever seems simplest next, which is the neck for me, and then went down. Or I didn't do the eyes until later on to modify it, because you may not be happy with what you have, but it seems simpler to do. When I start drawing, I start with whatever seems calming to me, at least. Drawing people in like a quick little sketch, that's what I like doing. Not like finding some hands and say, oh, let me draw hands today, because that's not what I want to challenge myself to do. Like, sure, I want to challenge myself, but I want to start something simple to get me to that concept. I myself like singing and music myself. I'm not really heavily into that, but I like doing it. And connecting that to art in a way, it's pretty calming. Say you have a song you like listening to and you want to connect it into a piece of art, then it's certain emotions that you feel. Putting that into art is a way of conveying your feelings, which is what other painters did at some point, or people who sketched, or sculptors themselves. In art class, I'm not a huge fan of painting, but after doing some things related to it, I enjoy doing it now. Not the best at it, I'd say, but I enjoy painting in a way that seems the simplest for me. Drawing from observation helps me see those things, especially when you're painting or sketching, doing those. It's very helpful when you need to, say, do something to put something onto somebody and they don't know what it is. You can draw it off of them and say, oh, I know what that is.
My name is Madison Cortez, and I'm in the 8th grade. I made a painting of a sponge, a glass cup, and a shell, and I chose all of these because I wanted to bring out vibrancy and dullness at the same time. I also really liked drawing and painting the glass because I'm really fascinated by reflectiveness and the shines and different add-ons and textures of glass drawings and shapes and figures. Painting from observation, I think, definitely helps me with learning more about shape and how to take things in along with lines. I struggled a little bit with that when I first started, but after doing this project, I got a grip on how shadows worked and how overlapping works and how to get a better grip on those. I think my two biggest inspirations are, one, myself, because I remember starting out, my art was really bad, in my opinion, and seeing myself grow and knowing that once I'm older, I'll be able to progress even more really keeps me going. And along with that, just animated films. They're so pretty, and they've always had a special place in my heart, and they're another thing that keeps me going in my art career. A highlight, I think, is just being able to express myself freely through my art. In the past, I've had art teachers who wanted something strictly done the way they want it. However, in this class, I feel like I'm able to bend the rules a little bit and push the line of creativity every day. Definitely, the materials I've really liked using are pencils. They're very basic, however, I love experimenting with different lines and different sizes of lines, along with charcoal, since it's very easy to blend and fade. And I really just love the idea of sketching. It's so fun, and you just get to express yourself on paper right away. Art has definitely helped me in other classes, especially art projects in other classes or just in general using lines or colors or shapes, because with art you're able to apply it to different things, and I'm able to see things through a new light when thinking about art in the sense of a project or an assignment, and it really helps. I think one thing I'd like to reflect on is I used to be a big perfectionist when I started this class, and I got frustrated very easily. I was so willing to give up, but now I think even though I have a little bit of a mishap or something goes wrong, I think I'm more pushed through now, and I'm able to get through the difficult things and just keep trugging forward.
My name is Zoe Mar, I'm a senior, and my piece looks at surrealism, which really focuses on dreams and warped realities and stuff that doesn't seem quite right. My piece in particular, I knew I really wanted to do something with my hands. Up until this point in the year, we had been doing a lot of painting, and I wanted to do something that was really hands-on, with some tools and some wood. So I decided on this piece that I would carve out of a piece of wood and then paint to portray a sort of shifting dream with people in it representing different emotions, but it's not exactly right because of these long, strange necks. And my goal is really to communicate that sort of unnaturalness and uncanniness in this piece. Mostly when I'm making art, my main inspiration is my own experiences, what I experience in my day-to-day life, and also what I've experienced in my upbringing, with my parents coming over from Ireland as immigrants, the experience of being away from a lot of my extended family. I try and combine all of these emotions and experiences to create pieces that really touch my viewer and make them sort of feel what I experience. Taking art class throughout my entire time at Woodward has really taught me perseverance. You know, when you start out a piece, it may not always go the way you want it to, but if you keep working at it and keep trying new things, you might come out with a piece that was better than you originally planned. And I can apply that perseverance to other classes. If I'm really getting bogged down in a math class, I can just keep working at it and know that I'll eventually find a solution. And even in terms of my larger life outside of school, being in an art class like the ones at Woodward really allows me to look at the world in a different way. I can look at it as an artist looks at it, making observations that perhaps someone who does not take such intensive art classes might see it. My greatest challenge in art is probably taking on projects that are very, very large. I tend to be very ambitious, and that can impact how much time it takes to finish a project. When you're in an art class, you're going to have deadlines, and you need to complete things by a certain date, and that's also true if you're a working artist. But through this challenge, I've really learned how to manage my time, how to work quickly but precisely, and really bring those skills also into other realms of my life. In terms of favorite materials and favorite projects, at the moment I'm working on a Victorian reconstruction skirt, which is such a fun change from anything I've done before. I'm completely hand sewing it, which is completely out to the ordinary for a class where I'm usually painting or drawing or working with charcoals, so that has been a lot of fun. Last year, over the pandemic, I opted to go completely virtual just for my family's safety. That was what I was most comfortable with. And with that, I kind of gained a lot more time to do art, to work on art. And having that extra time kind of allowed me to push myself more by managing my own time in a way that would allow me to produce art that's reflective of my experiences, but also reflects what we were working on in class at that time. Art at Woodward is such an integral part of the community. We have a couple very large events each year completely dedicated to the arts, that having the arts as such a big part of school life really allows people who are very interested in the arts, who might want to go to art school, kind of experience what they might be experiencing in college and to really grow their dedication and their passion successfully. So right now in National Art Honor Society, we are working very hard on an installation for our Night of the Arts, which is in April. We have this empty room in the basement that we are transforming into a sort of time capsule going back through the feminist movement of the 20th century. This kind of ties in with Woodward's entire being as an all-girls school, and we really want to communicate the struggle, the ongoing struggle, for women to have equal rights and for their experiences and voices to be heard.
Hi, my name is Fiona Philbin and I am in the 6th grade. The print I made in art class is inspired by a book I read about ancient Egypt, and I've always been very interested in ancient Egypt. And I love the art that they do, all the hieroglyphs and the style that they painted and drew pictures with. And I think I'm really inspired by their mythology, and I love the way that they take animals and creatures and like demons and other stuff like that, and they make it into their own kind of format. The most challenging thing about the printmaking process was the ink. I think it was very hard to find the right amount of ink and the right color and the right shades, and if you wanted more ink in one spot than the others. And the ink placement is very complicated, I find. And the easiest part about this project was probably the design. I find it very simple to draw a picture with pencils. It's just it flows, and you can erase it if you make a mistake. Some of my favorite materials is probably paint and the carving materials I used to carve my block for the print making. I like paint because you can make different textures and different strokes, and the thickness of the stroke, the size of the brush, the colors of the paint. And I like the carving materials because it's very hands-on, and I find that very satisfying. Some highlights are probably the inspiration I get from the people around me and my family and my friends in art class and all the other art that I can see. I also get a lot of my inspiration from the stories I read. I love reading stories, and I think they really inspire some ideas. I find that art helps me in other classes when I'm trying to think of a different way of trying to solve a problem. Like in math class, if it were more of a creative problem where I was trying to figure out how much X stands for. In art class, I want to figure out how much paint to add to each thing, to add to each color to make different colors, and I can relate to math because you add different numbers to make a new number, and I find that very fun. I like math too. I think that the pandemic made it very hard to really open up fully to art last year, but now that I'm in a new environment and there's more materials and I'm in a new school, I find it much easier to be more creative and move on in art and find new strategies and techniques for the way I design things. Art class has been a very different experience. It's been a lot more open. There's a lot more things you can do, in other classes it was mostly just drawing with pencils, and this one I feel like I can really open up to the full creativity that I have. The art is really inspired by things that make you happy and things you see around you, and art is a good way at looking differently at certain things in life.